First up, we have a big development coming in from the court. Delhi court has rejected the anticipatory bail plea of Luthra brothers. With the verdict, the Luthras now face arrest upon landing. The brothers were detained in Thailand and had in fact sought anticipatory bail for 4 weeks. Big breaking coming in at this point. Remember, Luthra brothers were detained in Thailand and they are going to be deported. In fact, Goa Chief Minister spoke a short while ago and said that they will be brought to Goa soon. We'll get to that in a bit, but I'm being joined by my colleague Jitendra Bhati at this point. Good evening, Jitendra. What are the details? What were the arguments in the court? क्या arguments थे कोर्ट में?
बिल्कुल, देखिए कोर्ट में इस मामले पर सुनवाई हुई तो जो गोवा स्टेट है वहाँ से उनके जो वकील हैं मुखर्जी और साथ में जो है अतुल श्रीवास्तव, उन्होंने कहा कि जो बेल ट्रांजिट एंटिसिपेटरी बेल मांगी है उसमें जो ग्राउंड्स बताए हैं वो विश्वास करने लायक नहीं है, बोगस है। मसलन उसमें जैसे कहा गया कि वो बिज़नेस पर्पस से थाईलैंड गए थे, दूसरा कहा गया कि उनकी जो मेडिकल हिस्ट्री है, एपिलेप्सिया है, और साथ में कहा गया कि वो जो है जांच से भाग नहीं रहे हैं। तो यहाँ पर जो है कोर्ट के सामने रखा गया गोवा की तरफ से कि जैसे ही 11:15 बजे के आसपास आग लगी थी, उसी वक्त तकरीबन 1.5 घंटे बाद यानी कि 1:17 पर जो लूथरा ब्रदर्स हैं इन्होंने फ़्लाइट बुक करी और 7 तारीख की सुबह 5:30 बजे यहाँ से वो चले गए थे। तो ऐसे में जो कहना था कि वो बिज़नेस पर्पस से गए थे, पहले से तय था। तो ये कोर्ट के सामने रखा गया कि वो आग की घटना जो हुई थी, इंसिडेंट हुआ था, उसके बाद ही उन्होंने फ़्लाइट की टिकट बुक करी और वो यहाँ से गए। दूसरा, जिस तरीके से जो लूथरा ब्रदर्स हैं, इनके वकील ने कहा कि रिवेंजफुली जो है एक्शन लिया जा रहा है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, बुलडोज़र एक्शन हो रहा है, साथ में प्रॉपर्टी सीज की जा रही है। तो वहाँ पर भी जो गोवा के वकील थे स्टेट के, उन्होंने कहा कि ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है, उन प्रीमाइसेस को पहले से नोटिस दिया गया था, उसके बाद ही एक्शन लिया गया है। यहाँ पर एक बात और कही गई कोर्ट के सामने कि उनको थ्रेट था, इसीलिए वो सामने नहीं आ रहे थे। तो ऐसे में जो सरकारी वकील हैं उन्होंने कहा पीपी ने कोर्ट के सामने कि जो इस मामले में दूसरे एक्यूज़ पकड़े गए हैं, किसी ने भी इस तरह की किसी थ्रेट का सामना नहीं किया और उन्होंने किसी ने भी इस तरह का खतरा जाहिर नहीं किया गया। और भी जो बीमारी की बात कर रहे हैं वो बीमारी के पेपर भी ओल्ड हैं। तो इन तमाम चीज़ों को देखते हुए कोर्ट ने भी पाया कि जो दोनों ब्रदर्स हैं सौरभ और गौरव लूथरा, वो वहाँ गए हैं, ये एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर पाए क्या वजह थी। और अभी तक, क्योंकि 6 दिसंबर की ये इंसिडेंट है और कई दिन हो चुके हैं, अभी तक क्यों वो जांच के लिए सामने नहीं आए थे। तो इस तमाम चीज़ों को देखते हुए कोर्ट ने उनकी बेल एप्लीकेशन को रिजेक्ट कर दिया है।
जी, जितेंद्र भाटी, बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आर्ग्यूमेंट्स. In fact, the arguments were challenged on the ground. One of the grounds was that the medical condition which is mentioned by the Luthra brothers, one of them was from a cosmetologist and not from the appropriate doctor. And if they could suddenly go abroad to Thailand, why can't they come back to the country? Some of the arguments that were made in the court. Quickly moving on, shifting our focus, Goa Chief Minister Pramod Sawant has said that efforts are underway to bring the club owners back to India and to put them behind the bars as soon as possible. He said that with the help of Goa Police, Government of India, MEA, Luthras have been detained in Thailand. Sawant assured that strict action will be taken against the accused in Goa Club fire, which claimed 25 lives. Let's listen in to what the Chief Minister of Goa has said.
मैं फिर एक बार यानी हमारी गोवा पुलिस और द मिनिस्टर ऑफ एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स, होम अफेयर्स, मैंने खुद होके होम मिनिस्टर्स, इवन दो द पीएम ने कंसर्न व्यक्त किया था इसके बारे में, यानी पहले ही दिन ऑनरेबल पीएम हैड कॉल मी और उसके बारे में इंक्वायरी उन्होंने की थी। खुद होम मिनिस्टर ने इस इंसिडेंट के बाद यानी बाकी सबकी इंक्वायरी खुद कर रहे थे। मैं सभी का बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ क्योंकि उनको लाने के लिए द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया और हमारे पुलिस ने बहुत ही अच्छा काम किया है। मुझे लगता है कि जितना जल्दी हो सके तो गोवा पुलिस और द सीबीआई और बाकी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की एजेंसीज इनको लेके बहुत ही जल्दी गोवा में आएंगे। उनके ऊपर स्ट्रिक्ट कार्रवाई करते वक्त उनको हम बिहाइंड द बार डालेंगे। मुझे लगता है कि जितना जल्दी हो सके उतना जल्दी हम उनको यहाँ से लाएंगे।
गोवा पुलिस की टीम जाएगी सर, थाईलैंड जाएगी।
खुद गोवा पुलिस और सीबीआई की टीम वहाँ से जाएगी ऑन द सेम केसीस जी केस हांगासर जाल्ली ताज्या बेसिसेर थायलंड पुलिसांक कळयल्या उपरांतूच तांच्यांनी थंयसर तांकां डिटेन केल्लें आसा।
गोंया ह्या पळय ते एक सील मारला म्हणून आयकपाक येता तितून ते कितें हे बीन गावला तितून क्लब आहा ते गोंयाक
तांचो जो दुसरो क्लब आशिल्लो ताजेर वायोलेशन.
Representing the Goa Police, the council told the court that when officers visited the brothers' Delhi home, their mother and sister claimed to have no knowledge of their whereabouts, and the phone number provided was switched off. Based on this, a non-bailable warrant was issued. The fire department informed the court that the nightclub had no fire NOC and that the bar had only a single entry and exit point, a critical violation. The Goa Council alleged that the Luthras are evading investigation despite the gravity of the incident in which 25 people lost their lives. He said false information about their medical conditions have been submitted, pointing out that while the brothers could suddenly travel abroad, they were refusing to appear before the investigators. It was also revealed that a medical prescription submitted in court reportedly came from a cosmetology clinic, raising further doubts. The Goa side argued that the anticipatory bail plea is a completely bogus case aimed at avoiding arrest. Luthra Brothers Council senior advocate Tanveer Ahmed Mir argued that the brothers did not flee to evade arrest but to escape threats to their lives. He told the court that they and their families were receiving violent threats after the Goa fire and accused the state administration of acting out of revenge by demolishing 2 restaurants and sealing properties without notice. Mir said the Luthras were never declared absconders and would have returned immediately had they been given protection. Instead, police issued a notice within a day and obtained a non-bailable warrant on the first attempt without serving it at their home, email or phone. He stressed that arrest cannot be used as punishment and that the FIR itself attributes the incident to negligence, not homicide. The brothers, he said, are taxpayers with no criminal record and are seeking protection of life, not avoiding the law. Defending their business operations, Mir said the Luthras run multiple restaurants across India and had a pre-planned event in Phuket for which tickets were booked even before the fire. On claims that their Phuket outlet does not exist, he said Goa Police is incorrect. And I'm being joined by Savio Rodrigues at this point, founder and editor-in-chief for Goa Chronicle, as well as Dr. Rajiv Nanda, senior advocate, Supreme Court. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me. Savio Rodrigues, what do you make out of what's happened over the last few hours? The anticipatory bail of the Luthras brothers being rejected, that was expected, and of what the Chief Minister has said.
Well, I'm glad that the Chief Minister of Goa has taken a very, very strong, determined and convicted decision to go after the culprits behind the illegal nightclub and behind the tragedy that happened in which 25 innocent people lost their lives. In hindsight, I wish they would have done it before, but we have to correct the wrong that is there and justice has to be done to the innocent 25 people. But what is even more important is that the Chief Minister of Goa has ensured now that the administration goes after all the illegalities that are there, both in North and South Goa, as far as restaurants, clubs, and even spas are concerned. And that is a good step forward. But what the people who have lost their lives, the families of the people who have lost their lives, and the people of Goa want is the end to this particular kind of extensive inflow of power, political power, business power, bureaucratic power that is brought from other parts of Goa into Goa. Because if you understand and the investigations going on in this case, you would see at different levels that even some aspects of the state administrative department did try to bring the illegalities to the fore, but an IPS officer or an IAS officer, intervened and ensured that such illegalities do not come to the fore. And that is the problem, because there is a huge lobby from outside of Goa that is working towards ensuring that they capture a large section of the real estate space, the restaurant and the nightclub space, because there is a huge amount of revenue to be made. And that's exactly what these Luthra brothers has done. You know, surprisingly, Sneha, if you look at the Luthra brothers companies, they each have like 20, 25 companies registered against their name. If you do a search on their DIN number, they have so many companies of similar names and some new names as well registered against them. Were they laundering money from some big people in Delhi? Is the most important question here. Because
Savio, you've touched upon an important point, and we'll get to that. I want to get back to this also, because there's also this whole angle of how there seems to be links to at least 42 shell companies when it comes to the Luthra brothers. That's just one aspect of it. There are so many other aspects that you touched upon. We'll get to that. Dr. Rajiv Nanda, if I can just have you very quickly in what's going to happen next now. The deportation process usually would take how long? When do we expect legally for the work to be done? I'm told that a team of the police and officials have already left. By when are we expecting, and what's the next course of action going to be?
It is almost going to be immediate, because this is not a case of extradition. This is a case of deportation. Since they have been detained on the blue corner notice, the return of the Luthra brothers will be almost immediate, and on their return, they are in all probabilities going to be arrested at the Delhi airport itself, and they will be taken to the state of Goa, Panjim, and then all that investigation will be carried out there. This is not going to be delayed like an extradition treaty, or because like an extradition case. This is not a case of extradition which will take some time. Immediate, they are going to be returned through the Thailand police, the cooperation of Thailand police. Immediately, almost immediately, they'll be returning back.
Dr. Rajiv Nanda, a lot is being spoken about the fact that the passport was suspended. The Indian government went ahead and suspended the passports of these Luthra brothers. How usual or unusual is this as a protocol?
No, it is quite good and efficient that the government of India and the agencies have promptly acted. Normally, it takes about 15 days, 20 days, even if they are done in a very quick manner. This is surprisingly, appreciatingly, this is a good step of the agencies that they could suspend the passport, issue the blue corner notice, and notify the Thai police, their counterparts, respective ones. And that is how they have been brought back to the books, and they were detained. Otherwise, it was very impossible. I am told that they had some properties in Dubai also, and they would have fled from, very likelihood that they would have fled from Thailand to Dubai. Then it would have been very difficult for the Indian government or agencies to bring them back to justice.
Right. Dr. Rajiv Nanda, interesting point there. Let me just get back to Savio Rodriguez at this point. Dr. Rajiv also just said that it is unusual. It was rather quick in the way the counter actions were really taken. The passports were suspended, that being just one part of it. But Savio, you were talking about how there seems to be so many companies that are linked to the Luthra brothers. It just seems to be what we are calling just a sprawling web of lies that seems to be juxtaposed one over the other. How is this being looked at locally? Because many of these also have connections with Goa as such. You spoke about bureaucratic red tapeism, about bureaucratic intervention. The court today was told that this club, which is a very popular club, did not even have the fire NOC. It had only one exit and entry, which means that they would never have got the fire NOC because that's not allowed.
You know, Sneha, much more than that. Let me give you a hard fact, and we put it out on the Goa Chronicle earlier in the day. So the NOC that they got from the village panchayat of Arpora was to actually renovate an old house. That's the first NOC they got. There was no old house they were renovating. You know, so the owner of that particular land, so they've done it very smartly. They've got the owner of the land who's taken all the permission, which is normally what is done. And then you have a trade license or an established license that's given to the company that the Luthras have and registered to do the business as far as Goa is concerned. So they've got the owner on one side who's taken the NOCs from the panchayat. Then they've got the trade license in the name of the company which they are running the nightclub. So it's a huge web. Now, the reason why there is a very stern action taken not only by the state government but also the center is because I personally know that Prime Minister Modi and the Home Minister Mr. Amit Shah are actually closely monitoring this particular case because we've lost 25 innocent people, and this is the first time that is an incident like that has happened in Goa. More importantly, the reason is the web of intricacies that involve certain powerful players from outside of Goa that have pressurized and influenced the administration in Goa is where the real crust of this particular tragedy is. The first spark was not lit in the club. The first spark was lit when the panchayat of the village of Arpora had actually given them a stamp to go ahead with an NOC when nothing was in order with this particular property. So there's this huge nexus of corruption and huge nexus of influence. And their shell companies will only show you that there are powerful people sitting outside of Goa who have got their money laundering happening through the Luthra brothers. You can write it down that I said it, but this is going to become an eventuality because that's the kind of power they enforce. See, it's not easy in a state like Goa for somebody from the outside to come and influence unless there is political, bureaucratic, and the power of money to do that. And they have violated all of that. And therefore, I believe they are just the front end of the actual scam or the money laundering that happens in it.
Okay, just stay on with us, Savio, as well as Dr. Rajiv. There's a breaking news coming in at this point. The court, while rejecting the bail, actually said, the anticipatory bail actually went on to say that there is no threat to the lives of the Luthra brothers, as is being said, and that there's no medical documents to support the petition that was made in the bail petition, and that is, certain medical conditions that were stated by the Luthra brothers. The court said there is no threat of proof whatsoever, and this entire incident that cost the lives of 25 people is extremely serious. In fact, the order states that, and let me read this out to our viewers, the order states that the petitioners claimed they had left the country on December 6th for the business purposes. However, records show their tickets were booked at 1:17 a.m. on December 7th. And they departed for Thailand on a 5:20 a.m. flight the same morning. Dr. Rajiv, is this then misleading and lying to the court?
Of course, it is a misleading thing to the court. They could not demonstrate to the court that they had a pre-planned and pre-approved business trip lined up for their visit to Thailand. This is just sheerly running away after the crime from the crime scene. This is a cold-blooded thing for which they will have to answer. This is not only indifference, this, if I may put it, this is crime against the humanity. 25 precious lives have been lost just because of the greediness of whosoever it is, whether it is these Luthra brothers. Of course, they are the ones who are in front, they will be responsible. So I don't know as of now about the money laundering and all that, but as of now, what is coming in front is that they had no license, no proper license. They were unauthorized occupants of the land. The venue where this fire has broken out was shabbily made. No proper exit except one entry and one single exit and entry point. It was like a Abhimanyu trapped up in the Chakravyuha. There was no way that people could have come out from there. This is sheer cold-blooded murder, culpable homicide amounting to murder, and they will be dealt accordingly. Like if we go back in the memory lane, there was a Upahar tragedy in Delhi, which was of the similar kind. People lost life and the Ansal brothers had to pay from their notes. And they were imprisoned. The similar things is going to happen here also and should happen. The life imprisonment can be the punishment here.
All right. And just a last question, Savio Rodrigues, just at the outset of it, when you hear that there are 42 shell companies linked to the Luthra brothers, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be illegal. But there are a lot of concerns at this point that seem to just come together. There are a lot of dots that really need to be joined at this point. And more importantly, Luthra brothers are a very important aspect of this entire probe that's underway. It also has to eventually, if there has to be a sense of justice, also include sitting or retired officials from bureaucracy, if you have it.
You know, Sneha, in all due fairness, do you think any of the three of us have the power to call an IPS officer and an IS officer to tell the administration in Goa to bend to their whims and fancies? Do you think that's possible? Unless you have certain amount of money power, political power, or some really strong bureaucratic power? I don't think that's possible. And I mean, we are influential people in our own right, all three of us in this discussion right now, but there's not a hope in hell that an IPS or an IS officer is going to listen to us to bend the rules for support for us, right? So there is something that connects the Luthras to a powerful bureaucratic and a political lobby. And that is why they got away with it. See, they've been running that for over 2 years, Sneha, and not a single one in the administration was able to go after the illegality. And when somebody did, they were told by a senior IPS officer and an IAS officer not to go after it. Why was that? Do you think IPS officers and IAS officers just listen to their own selves, or there's something more to it?
Okay. I think we'll just leave it at that. Savio Roderick, some very, very important points. Dr. Rajiv Nanda, thank you for breaking down the legalities for us. Big questions, lots of answers that are needed, and a probe that really requires not just justice to be met, but a perception that justice has been delivered.